Man, what really makes a game perfect? Is it the story that keeps you glued to the screen, the gameplay that hooks you for hours, or characters so real they feel like longtime friends? I've picked 15 games to help you save time and money. Every single one of them is worth paying full price for. These games nail every aspect, each earning a flawless 10 out of 10. Baldur's Gate 3. Let's kick things off with the game that basically reset my expectations for what an RPG can be. Baldur's Gate 3 is absolute madness in the best way possible. I remember my first playthrough, I tried to talk my way out of a massive goblin camp fight, and it actually worked. The sensation of freedom here is intoxicating. You aren't just following a script, you're co-authoring a saga. The characters, like Asterion or Shadowheart, don't feel like NPCs. They feel like complicated, messy people you're genuinely traveling with. The gameplay uses that turn-based D&D logic, but it's so much more than just numbers. It's about creative chaos. Shoving a boss off a cliff? Totally valid. Using a grease spell and then lighting it on fire? Iconic. This is where the game changed for me. When I realized that if I could think of a crazy solution, the game usually had a way to let me do it. The impactful emotion hits you when your choices from 10 hours ago come back to haunt you or save your skin. Look, the third act can be a bit overwhelming with how much is going on, but the sheer soul poured into every line of dialogue is rare. If you buy this game, you won't regret it. It's a massive, reactive journey that respects your intelligence and your time. This is the kind of game you don't forget, because every player's story ends up being uniquely theirs. 2. Resident Evil 2 Remake. Next up, we're heading to Raccoon City. Resident Evil 2 Remake is, for my money, the peak of survival horror. The sensation of those damp, dark hallways in the RPD is suffocating. You play as Leon or Claire, and every bullet feels like a precious resource you can't afford to waste. The way the zombies react to your shots, the staggering, the limb damage, it's visceral and keeps you on edge. But let's talk about the real MVP, Mr. X. I didn't expect this moment, but the first time I heard those heavy, rhythmic thuds echoing through the ceiling above me, I felt a genuine shot of adrenaline. The memory of being trapped in a corner with him closing in while a licker is on the wall, pure terror. The game manages to be nostalgic and completely modern at the same time. My only gripe is that the A and B scenarios could have been a bit more distinct, but the atmosphere is so thick you barely care. This is the type of game that justifies the price because the pacing is flawless. It's a tight, terrifying loop of risk versus reward that proves horror is at its best when you're vulnerable. Truly, this is the kind of game you don't forget. Number 3, Horizon Forbidden West. Going from the first game to Horizon Forbidden West felt like moving from a sketch to a full-blown oil painting. The sensation of the world is it's eye-watering. Stepping into the ruins of San Francisco or diving into the bioluminescent underwater caves creates this incredible, impactful emotion of exploring a beautiful graveyard of our own future. Aloy's journey feels much more personal here, as she struggles with the legacy of being the savior, while her friends are trying to remind her she's a person. The combat against the machines is a tactical dance. Stripping parts off a massive tremor tusk while dodging its missiles is pure dopamine. That's when I realized something was different, when I found myself just standing on a mountaintop, watching a storm roll across the desert, completely absorbed in the vibe. It's a technical masterpiece that actually has a heart beating underneath all that chrome and silicon. The crafting can get a little grindy if you want the absolute best gear, but the quality of the side stories is such a huge step up. Here, you feel that your money was worth it because the production value is just untouchable. It's a vibrant sci-fi epic that rewards your curiosity at every turn. This is the kind of game you don't forget. Number 4. Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. I'm not gonna lie, Sekiro kicked my teeth in for the first 5 hours, but once the clash of steel rhythm clicks, it's the most satisfying combat in gaming history. You play as the wolf, a shinobi who doesn't just dodge, he parries. The sensation of a perfect deflect, that clink sound followed by a spark, is addictive. It's not about depleting a health bar, it's about breaking your enemy's posture and their spirit. The impactful emotion comes from the sheer struggle. Fighting Genichiro atop Ashina Castle is a memory I'll take to my grave. This is where the game changed for me, when I stopped playing it like Dark Souls and started playing it like a rhythm game. The boss fights aren't just hurdles, they're intensely personal duels. The story is more direct than other From Software games, focusing on loyalty and the curse of immortality, which makes your journey feel much more grounded. It's punishing, and it doesn't have a multiplayer safety net to help you out. It's just you and your sword. But that's why if you buy this game, you won't regret it. The feeling of mastery you get when you finally take down a boss that's been killing you for 2 days is a high you can't get anywhere else. 5. Cyberpunk 2077. I know we all remember the launch, but the Cyberpunk 2077 we have now is a legitimate masterpiece. Night City is without a doubt the most immersive digital space I've ever stepped into. The sensation of driving through Japantown at midnight with the neon lights reflecting off the rain on your windshield while the radio plays "I Really Want to Stay at Your House," it's pure future noir magic. You play as V, and the impactful emotion of having Johnny Silverhand, played by Keanu Reeves, living in your head creates this constant, cynical, but strangely beautiful companionship. The gameplay finally matches the ambition. Whether you're a netrunner melting brains with quick hacks or a solo with mantis blades slicing through goons in slow motion, the combat is fast and visceral. That's when I realized something was different. When I stopped worrying about the main quest and just started living in the city, taking in the stories of people like Judy and Panem. These characters feel like real friends by the time the credits roll. It's gritty, it's dirty, and it's heart-wrenching. Here, you feel that your money was worth it because the Phantom Liberty expansion alone is better than most full games. It's a story about fighting for your soul in a world that wants to sell it. 6. Marvel's Spider-Man. Swinging through Manhattan in Marvel's Spider-Man is hands down the most therapeutic thing I've ever done in a game. The sensation of momentum, the way the music swells as you dive off the Avengers Tower and pull up at the last second, is just perfection. Insomniac didn't just make a superhero game, they made a Peter Parker simulator. The memory of Peter trying to balance his messy personal life while the city falls apart around him makes the stakes feel so much higher than your average comic book movie. The gameplay is a rhythmic dance. Combat is fluid, using gadgets and the environment to web up thugs, but it's the heart of the story that steals the show. The relationship between Peter and Aunt May and his complicated bond with Otto Octavius delivers a massive, impactful emotion. I didn't expect this moment, but the ending of this game actually broke me. I was sitting there in tears over a guy in spandex. My only gripe? Those MJ stealth missions can slow the pace down a bit, but everything else, it's a 10 out of 10. If you buy this game, you won't regret it. It's the ultimate love letter to the character and a reminder of why we love heroes in the first place. 7. Days Gone. I'm still convinced Days Gone is one of the most misunderstood journeys on PlayStation. You play as Deacon St. John, a biker who's just trying to survive in a world that's been absolutely shredded. Your motorcycle isn't just a vehicle, it's your lifeline. The sensation of cruising through the high desert of Oregon, watching your fuel gauge drop as a storm rolls in, creates this incredible tension. The memory of stumbling upon your first horde, 500 freakers pouring over a ridge like a wave of death, is pure, unfiltered adrenaline.
The gameplay starts slow, but once you upgrade your bike and your guns, you feel like a nomad king. This is where the game changed for me, when I realized the story wasn't just about zombies, it was about brotherhood and not giving up on the people you love. Deacon's relationship with Boozer is one of the most authentic portrayals of friendship I've ever seen in gaming. The human AI can be a little goofy sometimes, but the world building is top tier. This is the type of game that justifies the price because it's a massive 60-hour epic that actually rewards your patience. It's a gritty, rainy, and soulful road trip through the end of the world. This is the kind of game you don't forget.
8. Nier Automata. Nier Automata is a game that will make you question the meaning of existence while you're busy fighting giant robots. It is weird, it is beautiful, and it is profoundly philosophical. The sensation of the world is haunting. Vast, empty ruins reclaimed by nature, scored by one of the greatest soundtracks in history. You play as androids 2B and 9S, and the impactful emotion hits you in waves as you realize that nothing is what it seems. The gameplay is a wild mix of character action, top-down shooters, and side-scrolling platforming. It keeps you on your toes. But the real 10 out of 10 magic is in the storytelling. You have to play through the game multiple times to see the true ending, and trust me, it's worth it. That's when I realized something was different, during the final credits of Ending E, when the game asks you to make a choice that actually affects other real-world players. It can be a bit repetitive in the second playthrough, but the payoff is legendary. Here you feel that your money was worth it because it's an experience that only a video game can provide. It's a tragic, poetic masterpiece about what it means to be human. Number 9. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I've lost hundreds of hours to The Witcher 3, and honestly, I'd do it all again. The sensation of the wind howling through the trees in Velen while you track a monster is something no other game has quite replicated. You play as Geralt, and the writing is so good that even a random side quest about a missing frying pan ends up having more heart than the main stories of other games. It's a world that feels lived in. It's dirty, it's cruel, but it's incredibly beautiful. The impactful emotion hits you through the relationships, whether it's the tragic story of the Bloody Baron or Geralt's fatherly bond with Ciri. The stakes feel real. This is where the game changed for me, when I realized that my choices didn't just have good or bad outcomes, they had complicated, messy consequences that I had to live with 50 hours later. And don't even get me started on Gwent. I've spent more time playing cards in taverns than actually hunting monsters. The combat can be a bit weightless compared to modern Souls-likes, but the world building is the gold standard. This is the type of game that justifies the price, because the complete edition gives you 2 DLCs that are basically full games on their own. This is the kind of game you don't forget, primarily because of the memories you make just wandering the countryside. Number 10. The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. I remember the first time I walked out of the Shrine of Resurrection and saw the vastness of Hyrule. The sensation of pure, unadulterated freedom was overwhelming. Breath of the Wild isn't about following icons on a map. It's about, what happens if I do this? What if I set this grass on fire? What if I use a metal shield in a thunderstorm? The memory of discovering a hidden dragon flying over a mountain peak just because I decided to climb it is what gaming is all about. The gameplay is a physics playground. It respects your curiosity. You aren't told where to go, you're just given a world and told to survive. That's when I realized something was different, when I found myself ignoring the main quest for 30 hours just to see what was on the other side of a volcano. The impactful emotion comes from the quiet solitude of the world and the echoes of a kingdom that fell a century ago. Sure, weapon durability can be annoying at first, but it forces you to be creative. If you buy this game, you won't regret it. It's a masterpiece of subtraction. taking away the hand-holding and giving you back the joy of discovery. It's the ultimate adventure.
Black Myth Wukong. This is the game that took the world by storm, and for good reason. Black Myth Wukong is a fever dream of Chinese mythology that looks so good it barely feels real. The sensation of the combat is fast, fluid, and incredibly stylish. You play as the Destined One, and the variety of transformations and spells makes every fight feel like a cinematic event. The memory of some of these boss fights, like the one on a frozen lake or against a giant beetle in the desert, is pure spectacle. The impactful emotion comes from the sheer scale of the journey and the lore of Journey to the West. It's a boss rush at its heart, but the pacing is so tight that you never feel bored. I didn't expect this moment, but the way the story is told through these beautiful animated vignettes at the end of each chapter really pulled me into the world. It's a game with a massive personality and even bigger ambitions. The invisible walls can be a bit of a letdown when you want to explore every corner, but the boss quality is a 10 out of 10. Here, you feel that your money was worth it because the production value is just through the roof. It's an action-heavy masterpiece that feels like a breath of fresh air in the genre.
12. Elden Ring. What can I say about the game that redefined the genre? Elden Ring doesn't just ask for your time, it becomes your life. The sensation of discovery here is the best I've ever experienced. There are no map icons screaming at you, you just see a massive golden tree on the horizon and you go. The memory of finding Cyberpunk River, a whole galaxy hidden under the ground, is a jaw-on-the-floor moment that I'll be talking about for years. The gameplay is the peak of the Souls formula, but made accessible through exploration. If a boss is too hard, you just leave, explore a cave, get stronger, and come back. That's when I realized something was different, when I realized that losing wasn't failing, it was part of the story. The impactful emotion of finally taking down a boss like Millennia after 50 tries is a high that other games just can't match. It's punishing, yes, it will make you want to throw your controller, but this is the type of game that justifies the price. You're getting a 100-hour odyssey that treats you like an adult and rewards your persistence with some of the most hauntingly beautiful vistas in gaming history. 13. Clair Obscur, Expedition 33. I'm just going to come out and say it. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is a literal work of art. The sensation of the world is like walking through a high-end French painting that's gone horribly wrong. You're part of a doomed expedition trying to stop the paintress before she wipes out the last of humanity. It's surreal, it's beautiful, and it's profoundly sad. The gameplay is a genius evolution of turn-based combat. It's reactive. You have to time your dodges and parries in real time, which keeps you totally locked into every fight. The impactful emotion comes from the fact that your characters know they are on a suicide mission. This is where the game changed for me, when I realized that every step closer to the paintress felt like a step further away from any hope of a normal life. The world design is so original that it makes every other fantasy game look a bit safe. It's a bit of a slow burn at first, and the mechanics take a minute to master, but once it clicks, it's addictive. Here you feel that your money was worth it because you're experiencing a totally new flavor of RPG. It's a haunting, high art masterpiece. Number 14. Mass Effect Legendary Edition. If you haven't lived through the story of Commander Shepard, you are missing out on the greatest space opera in gaming history. The Mass Effect Legendary Edition takes 3 massive games and polishes them into one seamless journey. The sensation of the Normandy and its crew is something special. You aren't just playing a character, you're a leader making choices that decide the fate of entire species. The memory of the suicide mission in the second game is probably the most intense sequence I've ever sat through. The gameplay evolves from a clunky RPG into a tight squad-based shooter, but the heart of it is the dialogue. Your crew members, Garrus, Liara, Tali, don't feel like sidekicks. They feel like family. That's when I realized something was different, when I found myself genuinely agonizing over a conversation choice because I didn't want to let my team down. The impactful emotion of the final chapters is a heavy, beautiful burden to carry. This is the type of game that justifies the price, because you're getting hundreds of hours of top-tier sci-fi storytelling. It's a journey that spans the galaxy and touches your soul. If you want a game where your choices actually mean something, this is the one. 15. Ghost of Yōtei. Closing out the list is the stunning successor to Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Yōtei takes us to the lands surrounding Mount Yōtei, and man, the sensation of the wild, untamed north is breathtaking. Playing as Atsu feels fresh. The world is more frontier and less structured than the first game. The memory of the wind blowing through the snow-capped grass while the sun sets behind the mountain is enough to make you just put the controller down and breathe. The gameplay is that same razor-sharp swordplay we love, but with new weapons and a much more reactive world. The impactful emotion comes from the solitude of being a wanderer in a land that doesn't want you there. I didn't expect this moment, but the focus on the underdog story in a lawless land hit me way harder than I thought it would. It's a love letter to Japanese cinema and a technical showcase for what the PS5 can really do. If you buy this game, you won't regret it. It takes the vibe of the first game and expands it into something more mysterious and grounded. It's a visual and emotional masterpiece that honors its roots while carving its own path. And that is the list, guys. 15 perfect 10 out of 10 games that are worth every single cent. In a world where games are getting more expensive, these are the ones that actually deliver. They aren't just products, they're memories, emotions, and journeys that will stay with you long after the credits roll. But hey, that's just my take. Which of these 15 games is the one you'd play again for the first time if you could? Or is there a perfect 10 I missed that I need to go buy right now? Let me know in the comments. I love seeing your takes.